At 5 a.m., my neighbor knocked on my door with tears in her eyes and said 5 words that shattered my world. Don't go to work today. I thought she was crazy. By noon, I discovered my sister had been planning my murder for 3 years, and the truth about my husband's death destroyed me. This is the story of how I went from grieving widow to avenging mother in less than 24 hours. Welcome to another exciting experience with Mila Studio. Like, comments and subscribe to get notifications when we drop great stories as this. The knock came at 5:07 a.m. Rebecca Morgan froze, one hand on the refrigerator, the other holding her daughter's lunchbox. Nobody knocked at 5 a.m. Not in their quiet Connecticut neighborhood where everyone minded their business and pretended suburban life was perfect. Rebecca. Margaret's voice urgent and cracking. Open the door. Now. Rebecca's stomach dropped. Margaret Shun, her 60-year-old neighbor, didn't panic. She brought casseroles and babysat Emma and Noah. She watered plants and asked no questions about the circles under Rebecca's eyes or why a 32-year-old widow looked 50. Rebecca unlocked the door. Margaret stood there in her bathrobe, gray hair uncombed, clutching a manila folder like a lifeline. Her hands were shaking. Don't go to work today. Margaret pushed inside, glancing over her shoulder. Don't let Victoria near your children. There's a man, he's been hired to. Her voice broke. To make it look like you couldn't take it anymore. Like grief finally. What are you talking about? Rebecca's pulse hammered. Victoria? My sister. Margaret thrust the folder into her hands. Financial statements. Insurance policies. Emails with Victoria's name highlighted in yellow. Transaction dated March 15, 2022. The day after Thomas's funeral. $487,000. Life insurance payout. Power of attorney Victoria Morgan. Rebecca's vision blurred. Thomas's accident, Margaret whispered. The bridge. Dice. Rebecca, it wasn't. The folder slipped from Rebecca's fingers. Papers scattered across the hardwood. Insurance forms, bank statements, a photo of Thomas's car wrapped around a tree. She saw it again. The police officer at her door. Mrs. Morgan, there's been an accident. The roads were icy. He didn't suffer. Victoria had arrived within an hour, holding Rebecca's hand while she screamed, whispering, I'll take care of everything, sweetie. The paperwork, the insurance, all of it. You don't have to think about anything. Rebecca had been so grateful. What are you saying? Rebecca's voice sounded hollow, distant. Margaret gripped her shoulders, tears streaming down her face. Victoria paid someone to cut his brake lines. From upstairs, a small voice. Mommy? I heard a noise. Emma. 8 years old. Thomas's eyes. Margaret's next words were a knife between Rebecca's ribs. And now she's coming for you. What would you do if you discovered your sister murdered your husband? Rebecca couldn't breathe. Margaret guided her to the kitchen table, pressed her into a chair. The morning light was starting to creep through the windows, soft and ordinary, like the world hadn't just split open. I have proof. Margaret's voice was steady now, clinical. Years of social work training kicking in. Audio recordings. 3 years worth. She pulled out her phone, pressed play. Victoria's voice filled the kitchen, cold, businesslike, talking to a man Rebecca didn't recognize. Make it look like postpartum depression finally caught up with her. She's been in therapy since Thomas died. There's a paper trail. Antidepressants. The whole thing. It'll be clean. The man's voice. And the kids. Victoria without hesitation. I'll take them. I'm family. I'm a lawyer. I have power of attorney from when she had her breakdown. The courts will give them to me without question. A laugh. Victoria actually laughed. Besides, Rebecca's barely holding it together. The kids will be better off with me anyway. She's one bad day away from a psych ward. Time stopped. Rebecca saw every moment of the last 3 years through a new lens. Victoria volunteering to handle Thomas's estate. Offering to babysit so she could learn the kids' routines. Suggesting therapy, even recommending the doctor. Posting photos of Emma and Noah on social media. Captioning them my babies like they were hers. Building a custody case. The smell of Emma's strawberry shampoo from upstairs. The cold kitchen tile under Rebecca's bare feet. The sound of her own heartbeat, too loud, too fast. Her coffee mug slipped from her hand. Ceramic exploded across the floor. Sharp white pieces everywhere. Brown liquid spreading like blood. Mommy! Emma's voice from the stairs, small and worried. Are you okay? Rebecca forced her face into something resembling calm. Forced her voice steady even though her hands were shaking so hard she had to hide them behind her back. Go back to bed, baby. Mommy just dropped something. Emma hesitated, then padded back upstairs. The recording kept playing. Victoria's voice, casual as if discussing the weather. Once Rebecca's gone, I'll have everything. The kids, the insurance money, the house. Everything she took from me. Margaret stopped the recording. Rebecca looked up at her neighbor with eyes that had gone completely dead. Tell me everything, she whispered. And then tell me how to destroy her. Should Rebecca stop now and go to the police? Or take matters into her own hands? Margaret pulled out 3 more folders. I'm a retired social worker, she said quietly. I spent 30 years identifying abusers. When Victoria insisted on power of attorney during your breakdown, she made air quotes. I knew something was wrong. So I started documenting. She spread the evidence across the table like tarot cards predicting a dark future. Photos of Victoria entering Rebecca's house when she wasn't home. Timestamps. 2:47 p.m., 3:15 p.m., 4:03 p.m. Always when Emma and Noah were at school. Always when Rebecca was at work. Audio recordings of phone calls. Victoria talking to the family accountant redirecting funds. Victoria talking to Rebecca's therapist, painting a picture of instability. Copies of forged documents. Signatures that looked like Rebecca's but weren't. How much? Rebecca's voice was hollow. The inheritance from your parents. $1.2 million. Thomas's life insurance. $487,000. The children's trust funds that your father set up. Margaret paused. Victoria has control of those too. Another $800,000. $2.5 million. The price of Thomas's life. The price of 3 years of grief. The price Victoria put on destroying her own sister. Rebecca thought about their childhood. Victoria always in her shadow. Their mother's constant comparisons. Why can't you be more like Rebecca? She got straight A's. She made varsity. She got into Yale. Their father's will, read after his death. To my daughter Rebecca, who has always been responsible. He'd left Rebecca more. Not because he loved her more, but because he didn't trust Victoria with money. He'd been right. There's something else. Margaret's voice went even quieter. 6 months ago, Victoria told your mother everything. About Thomas. About the money. About her plans for you. Rebecca's head snapped up. Mom knows. Helen chose to protect Victoria. She always has. The troubled daughter. The one who needed her more. Rebecca felt something inside her crack clean through. Not her heart. That had broken when Thomas died. Something deeper. The last thread of family loyalty that had kept her tethered to people who shared her blood. She pulled out her phone, fingers steady now. Dialed her law school roommate, now a prosecutor. Sarah? It's Rebecca. I need to file emergency custody paperwork. Her voice was ice. And I need a criminal investigation opened. She looked at Margaret. I'm not running. I'm fighting back. By 8 a.m., Rebecca had dropped Emma and Noah at Thomas's parents' house. Is everything okay? Linda Lewis asked, searching her daughter-in-law's face. Thomas's mother knew grief when she saw it, but this was something different. Something harder. I need you to keep them home from school today. Don't answer the door for anyone except me. Especially not Victoria. Linda's hand flew to her throat. Victoria? Honey, what's? I'll explain everything tonight. Please. Just trust me. At 9:15 a.m., Rebecca sat in family court next to Sarah Chan, her prosecutor friend who'd pulled strings to get an emergency hearing. At 9:47 a.m., Victoria walked in. She wore a cream-colored suit, pearls, her hair in a perfect French twist. The concerned aunt. The responsible sister. She even brought flowers, white roses for sympathy. Her eyes met Rebecca's across the courtroom. Confusion flickered there, then something else. Fear. Sarah presented Margaret's evidence methodically. Audio recordings played through the courtroom speakers, Victoria's voice discussing Rebecca's staged suicide, the custody plan, the money. Victoria's lawyer objected, stammered. tried to claim the recordings were fabricated. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd seen every kind of family betrayal, wasn't buying it. Temporary restraining order granted. Ms. Victoria Morgan, you are to have no contact with Rebecca Morgan or her minor children pending investigation. Bailiff, please escort Ms. Morgan from the building. Victoria's mask cracked. This is insane. She lunged toward Rebecca, had to be physically restrained. You're destroying this family. Mom is going to have a heart attack when she hears. Your mother already knows, Rebecca said quietly. She chose you anyway. So I'm choosing my children. Victoria's face went white, then purple with rage. You'll regret this, Rebecca. You'll regret this. Security escorted her out, still screaming. Rebecca's next call was to Thomas's life insurance company. I need to report fraud. Her second call was to the family accountant. I need audits. Everything Victoria touched. Every account, every transaction, every forged signature. By 11:30 a.m., Victoria's bank accounts were frozen. At 11:47 a.m., Rebecca's phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. You're going to wish you died with Thomas. Rebecca screenshot it, forwarded it to Sarah and the police. Then she replied with 2 words. Try me. Rebecca drove to Meadowbrook Senior Living at noon. Her mother's facility sat on manicured grounds, all white columns and fake charm. Helen Morgan had moved here after the dementia diagnosis. Early stage, the doctors said. Some days she was sharp. Some days she didn't know her own name. Today she knew exactly who Rebecca was. Helen sat in her private room surrounded by framed photographs. But as Rebecca stepped inside, she noticed something that made her stomach turn. Every single photo was of Victoria. Victoria's a baby. Victoria's high school graduation. Victoria's wedding to the husband who'd left her. Victoria at family dinners, holidays, birthdays. Not one picture of Rebecca. Not one of Emma or Noah. I heard you went to court this morning. Helen's voice was cold, lucid. Victoria called me. She was hysterical. Rebecca stood in the doorway, wouldn't come further inside. Did she tell you why? She said you've lost your mind. That grief has made you paranoid. Helen folded her hands in her lap like a judge about to deliver a sentence. That you're making up lies about her to steal the children. Is that what she told you? Rebecca's voice was eerily calm. Or is that what you want to believe? Silence. Did you know? Rebecca asked quietly. About Thomas? Did Victoria tell you she had him killed? Helen's eyes flickered. Just for a second. That was answer enough. She came to me 6 months ago, Helen finally said. She was crying. Said it was an accident, that she'd only meant to scare him, that things got out of hand. An accident? Rebecca's voice rose. She paid someone to cut his brake lines. He drove off a bridge. He died screaming, Mom. He died alone. Victoria needed help. She was desperate, drowning in debt. So you chose her. Rebecca felt something break inside her chest. Clean. Final. You knew she murdered my husband, and you chose to protect her instead of me. Helen's voice turned pleading. You were always so strong, Rebecca. You didn't need me the way Victoria did. She was always troubled, always struggling. I was grieving. I was raising 2 children alone. I was barely surviving. Rebecca's voice cracked. And I needed my mother. If you destroy Victoria, you destroy me too. Helen's eyes were wet now. She's all I have left. Rebecca turned toward the door. Then you chose wrong. She walked out. Didn't look back. Behind her, Helen's voice called out, breaking. Rebecca! Rebecca, please! The door clicked shut. Rebecca returned home to find Margaret in her kitchen, making grilled cheese sandwiches. Emma and Noah sat at the table with Linda and George Lewis, Thomas's parents. Emma was coloring. Noah was building a tower with blocks. Normal. Safe. Mommy. Noah launched himself at her legs. Rebecca scooped him up, buried her face in his hair. He smelled like soap and innocence. Like everything worth protecting. Why can't Aunt Victoria come over anymore? Emma asked, not looking up from her drawing. Grammy said she's in trouble. Rebecca sat down, pulled Emma close. Sometimes people we love aren't safe. And Mommy's job is to keep you safe. Always. But Grammy, Helen says family is forever. Noah said, confused. Rebecca's throat tightened. Family is the people who protect you. That's Margaret. That's Grandma and Grandpa Lewis. That's us. She kissed his forehead. That's forever. After the kids went to play upstairs, Linda gripped Rebecca's hands across the table. We got the police report, she said quietly. About Thomas. Rebecca, we always suspected something was wrong. The brake lines were too clean a cut. But we had no proof and you were so fragile. We're with you, George added, his voice thick. Whatever you need. Lawyers, money, testimony. Victoria doesn't get to destroy another piece of our son. Margaret poured tea, her hand steady now. I lost my daughter to cancer 8 years ago. I watched you raise those babies alone, and you became like my own. Rebecca's eyes burned. I don't know if I can do this. Destroy my own sister. You're not destroying her, Margaret said firmly. You're stopping her. There's a difference. Rebecca looked around her kitchen, at the people who'd shown up, who'd fought for her, her chosen family. Thank you, she whispered, for not making me do this alone. At 5 p.m., Rebecca's phone exploded. Victoria had filed an emergency psychiatric evaluation, claiming Rebecca was delusional, dangerous, unfit. The evidence. Rebecca's therapy records from after Thomas's death, social media posts about grief and insomnia, a sworn statement from Helen Morgan claiming her daughter had made threats and was mentally unstable. Her own mother had signed it. Sarah called voice tight. She's requesting emergency custody. The hearing is tomorrow morning at 9. Rebecca, if she wins this, she gets my children. Rebecca's hands went numb. We can fight it. But it'll take time. She's using against you. Rebecca stared at her laptop. Victoria's iCloud account, still linked to the family account their father had set up years ago. Victoria had never changed the password. Rebecca's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could access everything. Victoria's emails, her files, her banking records, the communications with the hired killer, names, dates, payment transfers, the entire plan for Rebecca's staged suicide. She could also access Victoria's medical records, psychiatric hospitalizations their parents had hidden, history of violence, medications, diagnoses that would destroy any custody claim. Don't. Margaret's hand on her shoulder. If you illegally access those records, you could lose everything. The kids, the case, all of it. Rebecca thought about Emma and Noah upstairs, about Victoria taking them, raising them, teaching them that family meant betrayal and blood meant nothing. She clicked access account, downloaded everything, sent it anonymously to Sarah, to the judge, to a journalist friend she'd kept from college. Within an hour, the news broke. Local attorney Victoria Morgan under investigation for murder for hire and fraud. Rebecca watched her phone light up with notifications. She felt nothing. Just cold, perfect satisfaction. Margaret whispered. What have you done? Whatever it takes, Rebecca said. Victoria arrived at 9 p.m., drunk and unraveling. She bypassed the restraining order, stumbled up the porch steps, pounded on the door like she was trying to break it down. Rebecca had already called the police. 5 minutes out. She opened the door anyway. Victoria stood there, mascara streaked, hair falling from its perfect twist, clutching an empty wine bottle. The polished lawyer was gone. What remained was something raw and desperate. You ruined me. Victoria screamed. Everything. My career, my reputation, my life. Everything. You ruined yourself, Rebecca said quietly. I just stopped letting you ruin me. Do you know what it was like? Victoria's voice cracked. Being compared to you every single day? Dad's will, he left you more. Mom's stories, always about perfect Rebecca. Even Thomas. Rebecca went still. What about Thomas? Victoria laughed, bitter and broken. I introduced you at that party. He was supposed to notice me, but he took one look at you and I became invisible. Just like always. The truth hit like a physical blow. You killed him because he loved me instead of you. I killed him because if I couldn't have the life I deserved, you didn't deserve yours either. Victoria lunged forward. Rebecca stepped back. Her hand found the kitchen knife she deliberately left on the counter. She could do it. Claim self-defense. No witnesses except 2 sleeping children upstairs. One thrust. Victoria's crimes would die with her. Mommy! Emma's voice from the stairs. Small. Frightened. Rebecca looked at her daughter's face. Drop the knife. I won't become you. Police sirens wailed outside. Victoria collapsed on the porch, sobbing. Officers moved in, read her rights, cuffed her hands. Emma and Noah watched from the stairs. Rebecca shielded their eyes, but not before they saw their aunt being taken away. Midnight. The house was finally quiet. Emma and Noah had cried themselves to sleep in Rebecca's bed, tangled together like puppies seeking warmth. She sat in the kitchen, staring at her cold coffee, listening to the silence that used to terrify her. Now it felt like peace. Her phone buzzed. News alert. Victoria Morgan formally charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, embezzlement. Bail denied. Another notification. Meadowbrook Senior Living. Helen had suffered a massive stroke during the news coverage. Nonverbal now. The doctor said she'd never speak again. Rebecca felt nothing. That Bond had died in a room full of photographs that erased her existence. She opened Thomas's journal, the one she'd never been able to read before. Her fingers found an entry from the week he died. Victoria showed up at my office again today. Third time this month. She keeps saying Rebecca deserves better than me, that I'm holding her back. I think she's trying to break us up. Something's not right. I need to tell Rebecca. Tomorrow. I'll tell her everything tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. Rebecca closed the journal, tears finally falling. Thomas had known. He'd been trying to protect her, and Victoria had killed him for it. At 1 a.m. Rebecca drove to the county jail. They allowed her one conversation before Victoria's arraignment. Victoria sat behind plexiglass, orange jumpsuit washing out her skin, hair limp and greasy. She looked small. Broken. Are you here to gloat? Victoria's voice was hoarse. I'm here to say goodbye. Rebecca's voice was steady. I'm changing our last name. Emma and Noah will grow up never knowing you existed. Mom will die thinking you abandoned her. You'll rot in here alone. And I'll make sure my children never become you. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. We're still sisters. Blood doesn't change. Blood means nothing, Rebecca said. You taught me that. She stood to leave. Rebecca, please. Rebecca walked away. The sound of her footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. At home, Margaret was waiting with tea. Linda and George had fallen asleep on the couch, keeping watch. Rebecca climbed into bed with Emma and Noah, held them close, breathed in their shampoo-scented hair. Noah stirred. Mommy? Are you sad? No, baby. Rebecca kissed his forehead. Mommy's finally safe. At 5 a.m., Rebecca stood in her kitchen making coffee. Thomas's photo smiled from the mantel, but beside it now sat a new picture. Rebecca, Margaret, Emma, Noah, Linda, and George at the park. Her real family. She'd lost Thomas, lost her mother, lost her sister, but she'd saved her children, saved herself. The ceramic mug felt warm in her hands. Solid. Unbroken. Outside, Margaret's porch light flickered on. A silent signal. I'm here. You're not alone. Rebecca smiled. The cycle was broken. Was revenge worth it? Did Rebecca do the right thing? Or did she lose herself in the process? What would you have done? Drop your comment below and don't forget to subscribe into this amazing family, where family revenge stories are brought to live. Thanks for watching.